Janice Porter is a LinkedIn trainer, relationship marketing specialist, podcast host, and she is all about relationships. Having an innate curiosity, she has leveraged that into building business relationships and teaches others how to do the same. Her passion is working with people who want to build their businesses through relationship marketing and networking, and she does that using online and offline strategies. LinkedIn training is a huge part of Janice's business. She believes anyone in business needs to have a professional LinkedIn profile and that this is a powerful and underutilized online platform for attracting new clients, new referral partners, or being found by recruiters. Staying connected and nurturing relationships comes next, and Janice shares clients how to implement a tangible touch follow-up system with clients, prospects, and associates to stay in front of them, while at the same time celebrating and appreciating them on a consistent basis. Janice really values the friendships and business relationships she makes when she meets someone new, and is always thinking, how may I support you? I can vouch for that because that's how I met Janice. She is also the host of Relationships Rule. This is a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and any other podcast platform. I am so excited to dive into this because, as you all know, this is a topic very close to my heart as well. Janice, welcome to Prospecting on Purpose.
Thanks so much, Sarah. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, and I'm happy to have you on the show because I really like what you stand for. And even, we just ended with Relationships Rule. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. Like, why do you think relationships rule?
Because for me, it's always about people. I was thinking about this question because I knew you were going to ask this question. And actually, what was really funny is what came to mind was I'm a bit of a movie buff, and I love movies. But the movies that I like, I would call them more films than movies. They're more a drama that gets into character a lot because it's about the people. It's not the big adventure films that I like. I like to get into, what makes somebody tick, or they give enough depth to the character that I'm in, like that I want to know more. And it's the same. It's like, it's always for me about the people. And so when I decided that, after everybody and their dog was saying, Janice, you should write a book. You should write a book. I don't want to write a book, but maybe I'll start a podcast because I love talking and I love talking to people. So that's how Relationships Rule started. It was about interviewing people that perhaps think the same way I do, as I know you do, that, it's important that you build relationship with people. So that's kind of how it started. And it's just finding out how people tick and what makes them tick, and knowing that they get what I'm talking about.
I love that analogy of comparing it to a film and a character development and character arc and how they interact with other people, because I completely agree with you. And I have never thought about it from that angle. Did you ever watch Ted Lasso on Apple TV?
Love
Same.
it.
And I just rewatched it recently, and we won't spoil it for anyone, but everyone go out and watch it if you haven't seen it. But I was thinking about some of the characters that are more of the quote unquote like bad characters, or they make mistakes in their relationships with other people. I thought they did such a nice job of like recognizing that humankind has this innate connection. And if you connect to the human piece first,
Yes,
you can manifest any results you want, really.
It's so funny that you mentioned that show because I didn't watch it when it was first out. And my girlfriend had a bit of a personal connection to Jason Sudeikis. And so she kept saying, are you going to watch it? Are you going to watch it? And I'm like, I never did. Well, during COVID, we did a binge watch of it. And it wasn't what I expected. It definitely was all about character. It was all about the interesting people on the show. And I think that's like Schitt's Creek. That's the other one.
Yes. And it's nice that those shows are coming around because they're about nice people, and I like
big mistakes. They're human, right?
Yeah. I like it. And you want to watch movies and films of people that you want to root for. And I think in business it's the same thing. Like you're putting with your podcast and really your whole platform is around making sure that you're elevating others and doing it with kindness and just shining a light on good people. So I love that.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about like in your bio, I introduced you as a relationship marketing specialist, and I had never heard those words strung together. So can you dive into a little bit, like, what does relationship marketing mean?
Sure. And it's funny because I, for a couple of years, was trying to find this umbrella that would work for the two things that I love to do. One is my LinkedIn training, and the other is something I know that we'll talk about, which is my greeting card and gifting piece that I add to that I sell to people, basically, if you put it in the simplest terms, right? But it's a tool that, and the LinkedIn is a tool that I use, and so is the sending of the cards. And both of them, I wanted to find that connection. And that was a new term at the time that had come up, relationship marketing. And I said, that's it. That's what I do. So the thing about it, though, is that a lot of people, when you hear the term relationship marketing, they think of marketing. That's what they hear. It's marketing. So, it's all about the what can I get by, pushing stuff out there, and by making sure that I'm looking at my notes here. That's why, because I just wanted to clarify something. It's about, it could be about mining your database, it could be about your activity with your customers and so on. But for me, and why I was looking at my notes, is because it came from one of my mentors, who is the owner of the card sending company, that we talk about. It's the first word that comes that's more important, the relationship word. So relationship comes first, and it must be the primary focus. Well, okay, what does that mean? It means come from your heart. It means, treat people well. It means pay attention to what's happening in the relationships that you're having with people. It means don't just connect with someone on LinkedIn and then pitch them something. It means look at what they're doing and find a way to show that you paid attention. It's the little things, right, that count. And I think the biggest piece about relationship marketing, as I see it, is at the end of the day, people don't buy your products. They don't buy your services. They buy you because they learn to trust you, or they've gotten to know you and they feel comfortable with you. So really, that's what relationship marketing to me is.
Yeah, I really like you. I liked how you laid that out, because I feel like when people hear the term marketing, they think email blasts and
Right.
marketing funnels and more of
Yeah.
the like tactical aspects of marketing. And I also think people connect marketing with like a brand, but almost the way you described it, relationship marketing is almost like your own personal brand that you're building and how you're making others feel. And I really resonate with that, because I think in my experience, it's always been a relationship heavy sales process. I have a big
Yes.
sales background, but if I could prioritize the relationship, the sales part became really easy. And so I like that you kind of coined this term or applied it to your business, because I think this applies to anyone in whatever role they have, is how are we as individuals relating to other people? How are we building relationships? And then how are we using the marketing piece in a way that builds our own brand authority? Like, that's kind of what I'm hearing
And
from you.
how are we approaching the sales process too, really? Because, if we rush it, we're not building the relationship, right? And I know there's some great sales books out there, some great sales people that I've spoken to, including yourself, that know the power of that. And, that makes it so much easier, just like you said.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, because I think about this type of stuff, and we're going to get into some of the tactical strategies. Janice is going to share with us some things that we can do starting today. But in my experience, I really have to make an effort to prioritize this type of activity. And sometimes it can fall by the wayside. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So when it comes to relationship marketing, I would put that almost in like a proactive bucket of activity. And I think so many people, I hear this, I've experienced it. It's like we get so inundated and overwhelmed by doing the day-to-day tasks of our jobs that we get into like this reactive space. So I would love if you can share with us, what are some ways to maybe prioritize or focus on how we can like incorporate this type of stuff into our workloads?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sarah. And I think, though, it's about creating and nurturing a new habit. So it's just like, we both use LinkedIn a lot, and we might use it completely differently. But what is our habit around using LinkedIn, right? Are we on there every day? What do we do when we're on there? Are we looking at the menu at the top and checking our notifications? Or are we just, posting stuff and not looking at what other people are posting? For me, it's all about the people part of LinkedIn. So it's, the notifications give me so what I'm trying to say here, and I'm going to use this as an example, I'll give you another one in a minute, but it's not about it having to be over and above what you do. It's about maybe looking at it from a different lens. Because, right, for me, if I'm looking at LinkedIn on that daily basis when I first come there, I'm looking at the notifications that I receive that might give me opportunities to engage with people. Okay. So that's the first thing. So if somebody might have commented or tagged me in their post, well, definitely I want to go see what they've had to say and comment and engage with them. Maybe I look at my news feed and I have to look at, okay, so I need to find maybe 3 to 5 posts that show up to like and comment on, because I want to keep my name out there as well. Maybe, and I don't do this as regularly as I suggest myself, but maybe reach out and do a recommendation for somebody without being asked, right? Because what happens then is the law of reciprocity takes over. And it might not be that person that will come back and recommend you, but somebody will. It happens quite often when that happens, that somebody else will reach out and do that. So those little things become habit, but they're also about looking at the people side of things. Here's another one example. Somebody you reach out to, or somebody that reaches out to you to connect on LinkedIn. The first thing you do, if you're smart, is go look at their profile to decide whether you want to connect with them or not, so that you're bringing people into your circle that makes sense. But if you're going to do it, don't just accept. Look at their profile then with the eye of what can you find to build rapport with right away with them. Oh, I see you went to the same university as I did many years later, perhaps, but raw, go, whatever the school is. Or, are you a big fan of their football team, for example, like I am, or something that I see you hike. Where's your favorite place to hike? Don't start with the pitching stuff. Don't start with the business. Make it about the person. And then the other thing that came to mind was when you go to an event, right? I'm sorry, I just went blank on the question because I got sidetracked on one
No,
thing.
I liked everything you're saying, and I want to dive into the LinkedIn stuff a little bit more because I like the people part of
Let's
it.
do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. And I'll just kind of summarize it. I think what I liked what you said about making sure that it's building the right habits. And when you go on LinkedIn, be intentional about why you're going on there. I think I needed that reminder too, because sometimes I'm just like I'm just scrolling with no plan, and all of a sudden I waste a lot of time and it didn't move the needle at all. So I like that thought of build habits around it, especially if we're talking about LinkedIn, which I think is very applicable to this audience. If we're looking at it, what are the habits we're doing? And I want to dive into what you were talking about with the people piece about it, because you just gave like 3 really great quick things, like check your notifications, see if there's anything that you need to comment on, whether it's about you or not, because it could be
for sure.
this post is popular, other people added comments, et cetera, et cetera. So like find those pieces. I liked what you said about if someone is requesting you, and of course, I'm sure this is the same if we're outbound prospecting, but let's say we get a request, looking for connection points is really interesting. Instead of, is this person trying to sell me something? Is this person trying to get something out of me? Like, instead of that lens, I like the idea of how can we add value to them, even if it maybe isn't a fit that goes anywhere after that initial connection. And then I also really liked what you had talked about. Writing a recommendation proactively. That's been on my list for a while because I have people that I would love to do that for. And in my head, I'm like, maybe it's like every Monday. On Mondays, I'm going to write recommendations for people that have supported me, helped me. I've outsourced a lot of support. Like I want to help their business. I like that. That's a really easy, free way to add value to our prospects and our clients.
It's easy to do, and it makes a big difference to somebody. And that is a heartfelt kind of thing.
Right. And it's so nice to receive it without asking for
much. I know. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about reaching out to people, like potential prospects or people that we want to build relationships with, because I'm just going to speak for myself. Sometimes when I reach out to people, I feel like they're thinking, what is this person trying to sell me? And many times I'm not. It's just, hey, we're in the same industry. Hey, we have a shared client. Hey, we have 9 people in common and they're all so random. Like, how are we all connected? I mean, I am approaching it not from a sales lens, but I think just there's bots, everyone's being inundated. Like, how can we use this to be more relationship focused instead of like sales focused? Can you give us some tips?
Well, sometimes I think, one, this person might be an interesting person for my podcast just from looking at their profile. So sometimes I approach it, a person that I have no idea who they are, but I did a search, they came up, and I'm looking at their profile and going, interesting. They have, 14,000 connections. It might be really interesting. I can see maybe where they could be on my podcast, but then there is an ulterior motive. There's no question that, if they're my kind of person, then they will share it to their 14,000 people, right? So there's no downside to doing it for me. It's just time. And then the other thing is, what was I going to say? Gosh, what is going on here today? That I think it's telling if people don't respond. Okay, so I reach out through a connection request, but before I've done that, I've looked at their profile just to see if there is I know what I was going to say, to see if there might be a fit. But I also don't always think about selling them something. I also think sometimes about collaboration or about referring somebody I know that I think that, in their business, there might be a connection for them I could connect them with, because that is something I like to do too. And when I've done that on a gut feeling or something's telling me that this person might be a good person to connect with, it's usually been really good. And so, for example, I had a client who she's gone from like a banking career to being a leadership coach. Now she's left, she's retired from her company and she's doing this thing. And so we redid her LinkedIn profile and whatever. But while we were talking and going through the training, I kept thinking about this other woman that I had trained. Or no, actually I hadn't trained. We had just collaborated on something. But she also had done the same thing. And they're both local here in the area. And I said, do you know this person? And she said, no. I said, I think you two should know each other. So I introduced them through LinkedIn, and they were like both so excited to meet each other because they had so much in common. They knew people that knew. That to me was a win, right?
And that's a really easy way to reach out to someone and add value.
Yeah, exactly. So those things are great. Now, what happens after that? I don't know. I mean, my client who I did the introduction to, she's already sent me someone else as a referral. She's just given me a beautiful recommendation on LinkedIn. And she's like, she got me a speaking gig that I did last week. She's just one of those amazing people. She gives as well. So it's easy to give to someone like that. So when you click, but you need to take the time to find out about the person. So I know one of the things that people struggle with is, well, what do I say after I say, will you connect? Right. And I think it's important first to note, don't just send a connection request. Do include a personalized note. Okay. Whether you do it on your phone or whether you do it from your desktop. When you do it from your phone, it's not as easy. You have to find.
Okay, I was just gonna say I sent someone a request that I didn't know the other day, and it was just on the app, and I didn't get the opportunity to add a note. And then it ended up being kind of something funny we could talk about. I said, I meant to include this. Here's how I know you. Here's why I'm requesting.
Well, a lot of people don't know. So let's just tell your audience.
That'd be helpful.
When you go to your app for LinkedIn, you go to your to the person that you want to connect with. Okay. I don't know. I'll put somebody in here. I don't know. And then you instead you go to their profile, and instead of clicking the connect button there's 3 dots on my phone. I think near the bottom. If you click that, there's one that says personalize a note or something.
Personalized invite. I see it here.
So instead of the one that you see that's easy, you do that one instead, and it allows you to personalize the invitation.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Now I know how to do it.
I'll send you the bill.
I have someone to request, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so
I think you're just moving too fast. And then it was a little bit awkward to go back and say, oh, my bad.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't use that feature, but I find that when I'm going through the my network invitations, if there is a personalized note, I pay more attention to it because they've taken the time to do that and to put something into context. And then when they accept your invitation connection request, they usually just accept and say thank you or whatever. They don't do anything. So it's up to you to start the conversation.
Okay, let's talk about that because I'm doing a speaking event soon. I requested all of the other speakers and I said, hey, we're both speaking at this event. I'd love to add you to my network. Looking forward to meeting you in person. And probably half of them accepted with no response, which is okay. They're all CEOs of hotel development companies. Like I went for the big guns, but then a lot of people did write back really nice messages, and it was just a sweet, easy way. And now I know when I run into them at the event, it's going to be a lot more easy to just chit chat because we already had that like little soft, warm invite. But I probably
now
take it away.
Take that a little bit further and look at the ones that did accept and did write something back and see, are there any of those people that you want to develop a little bit more of a relationship with before you get there, because they will be the people that you want to go for coffee with. It's usually the other speakers, or like at a trade show or a conference, it's the people that have the booths. They're the ones you get the most, you know, connection with. And they could be collaborators. They could be people that know other speaking events that might be useful for you. You know, have you spoken at this event before? What's your take on it? You could be asking people questions and have a little more intel before you get there. You know what I mean? So there's lots of, or where where are they coming from? Find some more ways to build rapport, because then it will be a lot easier.
I like that. I kind of want to message some of them and say, hey, I can take photos of your session because it doesn't conflict with my session. Like I was thinking it would be nice to do a little photo swap because I don't have anyone there to take photos, and I would like that asset. And I'm assuming other people would too. So I like that. And you made a really important point about the trade shows and networking with other vendors for collaboration partners. I think that's one of the most strongest pieces we can do if we're in a sales role is connect with non-competing vendors. Yeah. Because a lot of times you're all servicing the same clients, and it's, I cannot tell you how many networking events I go to. And when people find out I was another vendor, they wouldn't give me the time of day. And the smart networkers are the ones thinking, I want to add as many people to my network as possible because Sarah might be on a job that needs my product and she's going to recommend me, or vice versa. So I really am grateful that you made that comment because it's important.
Now let's just follow that through a little bit though. After, it's about the follow-up, right? So how many times do people come away from those events and they haven't booked time in their schedule to do that follow-up? Now, as a sales professional, you probably do, I would imagine, but a lot of people don't. And you need to do that in a timely manner, right? So have your list of speakers, have your list of who you've spoken to, make sure you highlight the ones you want to go find, that kind of thing. If you know the lay of the land, you know there's going to be a break at, cocktail hour or something, or maybe there's a coffee break you can meet people at or something. But, we'll meet at the fountain, that kind of thing.
Right.
So, yeah. The other thing is, if you can gather, and if it's relevant, I don't know if it's with the other speakers, whether it is or not, but if it's relevant to get their mailing addresses, that's really good to get in a habit of doing too. And I know that's kind of a segue into the other piece with the follow-up, but that's another it's another trigger point that I try to remember to do.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I know that physical, like a tangible touch piece, is something that you teach and you practice on the daily.
Yeah.
Can we talk about it in two areas? I want to talk about it like in an in-person function, like we were just riffing on, but let's first talk about it from like a digital side of things. So we're connecting with people on LinkedIn. Maybe we say, hey, I'd love to do a quick meet and greet to keep you in mind for future networking purposes, or I'd love to learn more about your business and who I can refer to you, or I have this talk, it might be a great fit for your upcoming convention. Whatever way you're building that relationship. Now you're on your meet and greet on Zoom.
Yeah.
How do you get people's physical mailing addresses?
I really just ask them, but I don't ask them at the beginning of the conversation. I ask them towards the end of the conversation. And we might even be talking about Send Out Cards, which is the company that I'm affiliated with. We might be talking about it. And if we are, of course, then it's easy. Then I say, hey, would you mind if I got your mailing address? And then, oh, yeah, sure. Or if I'm not talking about it, I do sometimes just say, oh, before I forget, could I get your mailing address? And they go, sarahmarie@gmail.com. No, your mailing address. And they look at me sometimes and I say, look, I just like sending cards. I'm not going to sell it to anybody. Don't worry. And they'll give it to me. Or sometimes they just give it to me because we've already built that rapport. And so they're not uncomfortable doing so. So that becomes a habit for me. And sometimes what I do is take a screenshot of that first conversation as well, so that I can put their picture in the card and my picture. Like I'll take the screenshot of us and I'll put their picture on the front. And then I'll put both of us on the inside so they remember me as well.
Oh,
and
on
then
the Zoom, that's cute. Like
so the first time,
Zoom,
and I'll put the date. I put the date, that first date that of our conversation, and then when I'm the end of that day, however many I've had that day or cards I want to send, I go and I send those cards. So it's part of my routine. It doesn't become what we talked about at the very beginning of this call, an extra kind of burden, because it's part of what I do.
You built the habit of doing it. And I think pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, it was really easy because people worked at offices. So my grandma was a very big thank you card person. Like if you did not write her a card, you would not get a gift. I learned that at a very early age. And so thank you cards have always been something that has served me very well, because it was just, I guess it was a habit that I got into, because you wouldn't get a Christmas gift ever again if you didn't. It was kind of,
she was right. I got to tell you,
totally. And you know what? She practiced what she preached too. Like I have a stacks of cards from her. She passed away last year, but I have stacks of cards from her of like, thank you for coming over and replacing our refrigerator filter. Really?
Yeah. She should have known my mother. My mother was like that. Yeah. She would send cards to the butcher, the baker, the fishmonger, whatever. Thank you.
Oh, my grandparents too. They would make cookies and they'd give them to their doctors, the valet guys, the banks, like everyone knew who they were, but they took the time to do it. And I think that activity is something that we've all just kind of forgotten about. And I think the pandemic made it hard, because now people aren't in an office. It's a lot more difficult to get their cell phone number or their physical address to send them stuff. So I appreciate that you just do it. It's
just
awesome.
ask, the very odd time somebody will say, oh, thank you, but no, don't send me a card, because they're, they're chopping down trees. They don't want to chopping down trees.
Private or something.
Yeah, whatever. But very rarely, very rarely. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, and in fact, sorry,
No, please.
I was just going to say I had two messages on LinkedIn this week, a day apart, from people who received cards from me for the first time. And in both cases, they were so excited to get something in the mail that was positive and that was heartwarming, that it meant so much to them. And that's the thing. People are starving for that today,
That's
right?
cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice that they followed up with you too and said thanks.
Well, that was very extra and very
Yeah.
kind of them to do that. But it does show that people, do appreciate it, and they certainly didn't have to, because that's the other piece about relationship marketing, the way I see it. The way I teach it and the way I learned it was send out to give, don't send out to get.
Mm, I
And
like
when
that.
you send out to give, that law of reciprocity again, it brings you tenfold what you send out, right? So you really must send something out and let go of it.
Yeah, I had a podcast listener. She will know who she is. Shout out to Natalie. I'll give her a shout out. But she sent me an email and she said, "Would you be comfortable sharing your email or your physical address?" And I said, "Yeah, here it is." And I got a beautiful box in the mail. It was a beautiful card about how the podcast has supported her. And I mean, bawling tears when I got it, because it just came at a really important part where I needed to receive something like that. And I think I've shared this with you, Janice, and I know the podcast listeners have seen it on social, and I did an episode, but I have like a big poster board in my office.
Yes.
And then when people help me in my business, or if I get physical cards, and I have a nice little group of cards from 2023, and I started 2024. I've received 2 cards this year, one from you, but it's so nice to just have like a physical reminder of the support that I have and the impact that I'm making. So I very much have been feeling the love when I get them, and it's such a wonderful feeling that doesn't take that much time or money
No,
or
and I'll
effort
tell
to
you what,
do.
when you get in the habit of sending them out, that even is better, it feels better. It just feels so nice to send that kindness, to spread the joy, to because you just said something which actually happens a lot, and that is that the card arrives just when it's needed.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many times that happens. I've got story after story about that, and it's just I can never remember them all at the same time, but yeah. But it's so beautiful that that's what happens,
Well, and it's like, I'll do anything to help Natalie. I pitch her all the time too in my networking, because I know her product now too. But I know it wasn't from a place of she wanted my business. It was
Right.
just, hey,
It was
I'm getting value out of what you're putting out. Keep going, and that I think is the biggest takeaway when you talk about the law of reciprocity. If you do something without the getting piece,
Yeah, without
like, you don't have
expecting
to
it.
worry. Yeah. It always comes back to you, because it also keeps you front of mind. A physical thing, it's like people hang it on their office.
Yeah,
When I
exactly.
left when I left my company, I wrote thank you cards to some of my different leaders, because it was it was a difficult decision to leave, but I wanted them to
Yeah.
know how much they impacted me. And I know it made a big difference. And some of them were not mushy people, but I'm allowed to be my authentic self, and that worked for me. So let's talk a little bit about the service that you use to send out the cards.
Okay. So it's an online service. It's web based, and the physical company is in Salt Lake City, Utah. And if you ever want to go down there from where you are, let me know. I'll send you on a tour.
Perfect.
Because,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
maybe I will. I'm in
yeah,
Utah.
I'll introduce you to the person to take you on that tour, and it'll be great. There, and anybody and everybody that works at that company has the same wonderful personality of giving. It's lovely, really. Anyway, so basically, you have an account. You go online either on your desktop, laptop, or device, or your phone. We also have an app. And choose from the cards that are there, and there's thousands of them, or create your own, or use our templated, what we call photo drop cards, where you'll see photos in cards, and you can just drop your own photo in place of the one that's there. So it's semi made for you already. Now, from a business standpoint, the beauty of this is two things that happen. One, I talk about taking an image of, a screenshot, even just to get the idea across, is that when you put somebody's picture, even their LinkedIn photo, because that's usually a headshot, so it's much more professional than what the screenshot would be. But when you put someone's photo on the front of the card, they never throw it away. Never. It's like they just keep it, because, and then I'm just looking here. Somebody sent me a crazy card for my birthday, and it's got elf on the front. So again, just a screenshot. Janice, it's your birthday, like Christmas, but the day is just about you. And so they made it kind of Christmas in there. Anyway, and then on the back, this guy just put, what's this guy's name?
Spider-Man. I think it's Spider-Man.
No, it's not Spider-Man. It's the character that Ryan Reynolds does, and I can't remember the name. Deadpool. No,
challenging our
yeah. That's
superheroes.
That's the name of the movie, I think. Anyway, so then you choose your card, you write your message. You've got a lot of fonts to choose from, or you can add your own font into the system and your own signatures. The beauty of these cards is you can brand the back of them. You can brand them from, with your logo and your business information on it, even your picture, or you can put fun things on the back. It's entirely what you want to do. Keeping in mind that you're making the entire card about that person that you're sending it to, not branding the front of the card and making it about you.
Right.
It's the hardest thing to get realtors and mortgage brokers to do is to get themselves off the front of the card. But we've done it. I've done it thousands of times, and they get it now. And their branding is on the back. And then you just hit send, and our company prints stuff, stamps, and sends the card for you.
Okay. Well, I love the idea of putting people's pictures, because I did a lot of, like in different sales roles that I've been in, I did a lot of events, networking events. I was always on construction sites. So I take pictures of the team, like on the top of the tower, I'd find different ways to take pictures. And I think people are taking photos because they want to promote it on LinkedIn. They want to put it on their social medias, but how cool to just take it to the next level and send a follow-up. Thanks for attending our lunch and learn. Thanks for attending our event, and then have a picture of it. Like, what an easy way to cement it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you did a selfie with them or something, you put that inside the card. Whatever it is, like I've had more cards. Like when my granddaughter was born, I got to post one picture. I'm not allowed to post a lot of pictures of her and of me holding her. And I got more cards congratulating me with my picture and my granddaughter on the front of the card because, they knew that would bring joy to my heart. So
that's cute. And I like that it's just like a portal. You do it. You don't have to go find the stamp. You don't have to walk to the post office, because I think those little things are really what bogs us down on getting it done, because we're busy people.
Are you kidding? I had a book that I was sending to somebody, and about a month ago, it's in an envelope. I labeled it and everything. I went to the post office actually, and the lady in the post office said, where you're sending this, there's a lot of storms right now. I recommend that you wait a week or so. And I said, oh, okay. So it's still in my car.
Of course. Like it's returning stuff. I used to miss the return window. Not anymore.
But if I want to send some brownies to somebody or a mug or something to thank them for a referral or whatever, I just go onto my site and send it.
So you can send cards and gifts. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Because then if you're not physically there too, like I know a lot of people that listen to the show that travel a lot for their jobs, and then they go meet people in that town, but that's not their home base. So how great to do a follow-up. Hey, thanks for hosting me. Hey, thanks for the lunch and learn. Hey, thanks for this project or this specification. Perfect. Love it. So I've been playing with the portal because you gave me in access to it. And I've been using Dolly on AI to generate custom images. And so one gentleman that I'm working with, it was his birthday, and we had a chat, and he was talking about emus being the best birds. So I went on Dolly and I was like, okay, I know he lives in this town in Massachusetts. I know he likes emus. I know he's got a book called this. So I just put in like 5 words about the person, and it's been hysterical. I just got text today from people that got their cards, and it was, okay, it's a schnauzer wearing a sailor outfit with a caviar plate. It's really customized to them too. Like they're not throwing it away anytime soon. So it is.
I'm gonna have to try that.
You
That's so
should.
fun.
It was fun. It's so easy. You just save
Yeah.
it and then upload it into the portal. So it's been fun because I can show my authentic self in it
Sure.
too. And so it's just another way to differentiate.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that you can use Canva. You
Oh
can
yeah.
use Canva and you can create individual things there and just bring the image in to send out cards and do it. We do have a little bit of a pitch I'll just throw
Sure,
out to
of
people,
course.
only because it's a great way for people to start, as long as they understand that you can start a new habit. It may take longer than this to start a new habit, but it's a way to see if you like the idea. So we have what we call the 10 card challenge, and you took the 10 card challenge. And basically you set up an account and you pay $20. You get 10 cards that you can send within 20 days. And those cards also include postage anywhere in the world.
Cool.
So if you think about that, that's $2 a card, including postage. Really?
Right.
Yeah.
And I had a prospect that I was talking to, sent him a thank you card. I onboarded a new client, sent her a card. So I got into the habit, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And we'll put my link in the show notes, and they can certainly go there and try it out. It's just I don't know, it's in my blood now. So I just sent my granddaughter a Valentine's card. She got it, actually. I sent it here so that I could see her open it when she came over. But she was over the day before Valentine's Day, and I sent her a little gift with it too. And the card I sent her, it was a photo drop card. So it had a place for X's and O's, and it had two places where the O's were to put her photos in there.
Oh, cute.
And so I put photos of her in there. So when she sees the front of the card, that's her on it. She's only 4. So that was pretty cool. And she's into X's and O's right now, either for playing X's and O's, tic-tac-toe, or kisses and hugs. So that was kind of fun. So
She's
that's
a
why.
kid. Easy to write that. Well, I mean, I think from a sales perspective, it's genius because it's like, okay, here's me and here's you, little buddies on our card.
Yeah, no, it's just being able to be top of mind, like you said, show people that you care, have a little fun with it if that's the nature, that you want to do. And also, as you were doing, it shows that that you were listening. It shows that you paid attention to what they care about or what they had to say, and that in itself is a bonus, right? And
Yeah.
by the way, if you send cards, my favorite type of card to send is what I call act on your promptings cards. So someone comes to mind today, or I saw on Facebook that you lost your dog, or you had a new grandchild, or you ran the marathon, or whatever, and you grab that picture and you put that on a card, maybe a flat card, and on the back of it you say hashtag fridge worthy, or photo memory, or here's one for the fridge, or something like that. Congrats. No branding or anything like that, just that you paid attention. Those are the most fun. And when you send cards for those offbeat holidays, or the not so, like, everyone sends Christmas cards. So why don't you send a Thanksgiving card? Because you'll get there before the Christmas cards, right? Or why not? Valentine's is a great time to send cards because you can show your clients that you love them, so to speak. And Christmas in July, send a card with a sandcastle snowman on the front. Christmas in July. There are those such things. And do it when it's not expected. That's when
and there's so many ways you can leverage this too in person. Like, I liked your National Margarita Day. Maybe you bring your clients chips and salsa and a little card from your friend Sarah. There's a lot of ways to exercise your creativity. And I think what I like about this conversation is you're giving us really easy ways. So whether it's a physical, tangible card or a LinkedIn recommendation, there's a lot of ways to add those nice pieces of value.
Here's one more.
Okay, tell us.
Pick up the phone. Does anybody ever do that?
I do now more, but yeah, I like it because too, you're so right. Like I had a mentor and he was like, stop the madness. Like, the emails are out of control.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's even if you get a voicemail or a text, like, hey, I was just thinking about you, calling to say hi.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I think if they do answer the call, just make sure you remember that they're not expecting to have a long conversation with you, but they did pick up. So just say, hey, was just thinking about you. Do you have a minute to talk now? Just ask. And if they say no, then say, it's okay, no problem. If there's a better time, text me or let me know. I'd love to have a chat and catch up. That's it.
Make
You
call
just
back when
want,
you're free.
yeah,
Yep.
you just
Easy.
want to show that you were paying attention.
Right. And all of this is really about like, how are you leaving other people and how are you making other people feel?
Yeah.
And it
Yep.
doesn't have to be a physical card. It's
Nope.
just everything that what we've been talking about. And I like that that's relationship marketing. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like there are a lot of, well, in the sales industry, let me ask you this. How many people, and I don't know if you do this, but you go for the sales call, you go to the sales call, and either you don't get the sale that day, right? And usually it takes a few times, especially with big items, ticket items, but with smaller ones, it might be faster. But keep in mind that you could just send a card and by the way, I've known this to work really well with somebody I know who did this over a period of time. After the first sales call, sent, or even if they didn't get the sale and they knew they weren't getting the sale, send a card. Send a card that says, "Thanks for your time. Sorry we we couldn't make things happen this time, but know that I enjoyed talking to you. Whatever, keep us in mind next time. Whatever, but do something that most people don't do."
Totally. And I think that there's a misconception too that this is more of like a trait that women do versus men. And I will tell you, I've had many male clients and colleagues, but I mean, I've received cards from them. I had someone tell me that he was working with a national sales manager. This was a multi-line rep agency, and the national sales manager traveled in territory with him, set up, 6 meetings throughout the 2 days. And afterwards, he got a handwritten thank you card from the male national sales manager. And he's like, I kept that card. I use him as my guiding light of what type of sales professional I want to be. So I think men actually have almost an advantage if they do some of these things because it's even
Exactly.
less expected.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Do you know who, you probably don't, Joe Girard was?
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, he was, well, he was before my time too, but Joe Girard was a car salesman. And this was way back in like probably the 50s, I'm thinking, and the 60s. And he built his business as one of the top car salesmen in the world, kind of thing, by sending cards and handwritten cards that he would send 3 a day or whatever. And that's how he built his business. And another one who talks about the importance of the thank you card. And it's really just, it doesn't have to be just a thank you card or just a birthday card, just a card. Just show that you're thinking about someone, put it into action. And so what we do is make it easy for that to happen, easy for you to act on your promptings.
Yeah, it is really easy and it was really fun. I had so much fun with my Dolly creations. And I mean, I think in one of the cards I put, I'm procrastinating a little bit, but I'm having fun and I'm thinking about you. So, but you know what? It helps me learn the technologies too. And I think that's it too. Like I appreciate what you said about habits. I love what you said about the law of reciprocity. Before we wrap up this interview and I let you share where people can find you, is there anything else you'd want to add before we wrap up here?
Well, thank you. I think I just go I think I'll say two things. One, my favorite quote, which was by Maya Angelou, which is a quote you've probably heard many times. People will forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that's the sort of motto that I go on. And also just remember to stay connected and be remembered, right? Which is what I say on my podcast at the end, because people will remember you if you stay connected, right? But they're on to the next thing. We've got so much stuff coming at us from all directions that it's easy to forget about people that aren't, stepping up.
Top of mind. Well, that example you shared about not winning the sale and still sending a card, that decision maker might go to a different company the next month.
Right.
and hire
That's
you for another project. Like that's happened multiple times. And I love what you say about stay connected. I love the Maya Angelou quote. Thank you so much for being on the show. I will link all of your details in the show notes, but please share where people can connect with you.
Thank you. Well, of course, they can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm easy to find. It's Janice Porter, and on my website, janiceporter.com. And we're going to put in the show notes my link so that they can try that 10-card challenge if they so desire. But please reach out if they want a demo. That's fine too. And Janice at janiceporter.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janice. I really appreciate you being
My
on the show
pleasure.
today.
Thank you.